not actually meet in a room, for example, where people are restricted by the government to actually meet each other in a very small room, so that the government implement this kind of working from home policy, and then this kind of phenomenon where the employees are actually given the rights to working from home, and this kind of phenomenon increased in current years, for example, where COVID-19 happens, and also it is also being implemented post after the COVID-19 decrease, because people really company thinks that it will give many benefits for the employees, such as the flexibility of times and so on and so forth. Before that, what is actually the definitions of remote working in this city? We said that remote working is where employees can actually work from anywhere. So, for example, they can work from home and so on and so forth. But notice that the opening document see that the working here is not only limited to full-time job, also including the internship employees in this debate, right? Third thing that needs to be noted, that notice that the wording in these motions clearly say that it's remote working is the main deciding factors in this debate. So as a job seeker, you use remote working as the top priority to actually decide whether or not you're going to take that offer from particular companies, for example, or whether or not you're going to apply for that particular company. So you use this remote working as a main priority, as a top priority. So for example, even if you are offered a high salary, for example, from a particular company, but the company restrict you from working from home, you are going to reject that offer at the end of the day, right? So lastly, most importantly, in terms of context, what are the alternatives we're going to propose? As a job seeker, we will consider and we will actually prioritize salary, whether the space, and also working environments, and also career path or career development at the end of the day. So we're not going to use remote working as a main deciding factor for us as job seekers, because exactly it's going to wasting all the opportunities that comes from you, especially as a fresh graduate in this very complicated era, which I will explain in my substantive. But before that, the whole base of conversations cannot say that all is going to actually benefit for the company at the end of the day, because it can actually reduce the cost of the production cost and so on and so forth. Knowing that it's not going to cut off the cost, the production cost of the company, exactly because when you make policy where your employees can actually work from home, you need to give them laptops, you need to give them all the facilities such as what the internet quota and so on and so forth. So we think that in terms of cost, it's going to be symmetrical on the second cost. We think that even if yes, it's actually cutting off the production cost, then it's also harming the very basic principles of employees itself, where this is also going to be justified by the company, where people can work from home, because the flexibility of time, even though they work overtime, they are not going to pay them more. So for example, they are not going to pay them compensation such as and so on and so forth. Exactly, this is going to be justification for the company, because they only serve a very flexible time in their home, so the company think that they are not going to give them compensation at the end of the day. Substantive. Firstly, why is it going to make harm to the employees themselves? Understand that in a very competitive world, companies are trying to pursue profits, even to the extent they discriminate their employees, they cut off all the rights that needs to be deserved by the employees themselves, especially the Indonesian, for example, where there is undang-undang cipta kerja and so forth that is very discriminating towards the employee. We think that by implementing this kind of remote working, it's going to be harming employees. Because notice that company implement this kind of remote working policy, the justifications of this and the narrative that is currently happening is that it can give flexible time for the employees can actually spend their time with the family and so forth. We think that the company always think that in most cases, for example, even in the status quo, the company tend to give too much work or workload toward that particular employee itself. Because exactly it is a justification for the company to actually give the employees more and more workloads, for example, exactly because they are working from home, they they can achieve when they are working in a particular company. So we think that by it is going to be used as a justification for a particular company to not like to give the employees too much workload, exactly because they already like deserve some sort of comfortability when they can work from home. But secondly, which can lead to stressful situations where too much workload given to the company, to the employees, to the companies. But secondly, it is risking opportunity that comes to use, for example, especially as a fresh graduate. Finding job is hard, ladies and gentlemen, especially as a fresh graduate where you really want to get a job as a new fresh graduate coming from a university, for example. We think that by doing this, it will waste all the opportunity that comes to you, exactly because you are placing this parameter as the main priority. Because notice that, ladies and gentlemen, most of the corporations that did this is mostly like small to upper or even big corporations did this kind of policies, for example, because exactly they have a very rigid scheme to actually to make sure that the employees are doing their jobs. For example, within that if this is being implemented, we think that it is going to waste all of the offers coming for you, because exactly the company that use this kind of policy is very limited. The company that use this kind of policy most likely is a big company. So the moment you have offered and you have an offer coming from like a very profitable company, you cannot accept that exactly because that's not the requirements that you want in the very first place. All the reasons are to purpose.
Alright, so I can just take us off on your opposition discourse to open the case of pensions. Here. There is no preferred gender for one. I'm starting my speech. Upon oppositions with the team that's going to support the qualifications, because we believe that most convenient working environment is something that must be given towards this worker, and only by the qualifications, this accessibility and this right only can be achieved through these qualifications that I'm going to explain in my substatement. There is one contribution that opposition will bring, and rebuttal is going to be intertwined in my speech. Contributions: how the qualifications will make rational decisions of choosing career path, and why the remote working is the most convenient working environments that we want to give towards this kind of workers. I think that there is two parameters where some things that can be verified. First of all, when this thing is accessible, and second of all, when this qualification is something that is rational. Let's analyze one by one under the idea of accessibility. You cannot glorify something when something is inaccessible. For example, you glorify that studying abroad is something that is good, but the access towards it and the scholarship cannot be achieved. Then you cannot glorify. But in the program, you can be something that needs to be done. But why we think that remote working is something that's very you can explore your working environment as much as you want to have. For example, if you work from Bali, for example, this idea of explorations and creating a suitable environment and personalization to yourself is very, very important for the worker. Understanding that the work in itself already stressful things to begin with, so the worker is something that needs to be protected. When there's a glorification to as a counter narrative towards another narrative like we working in Jakarta and so forth. But yeah, let's engage. Opening government talking about the workload is not going to be proportionate to the one you should get in the house. But first, the idea of unproportionate workload is something that is not exclusive, because even though they attend in the office, the boss can give them more work months of job, so it's not an exclusive harm. But somehow, even if it's going to be just exploitative, I think the government having the capacity to stop it, like the regulation of worker protections and so forth. But after all, in the whole narrative, when there's a stress from this kind of workload, and the very least, under something else, we can find another fulfillment as a happy mechanism for this worker to be able to sustain their work. For example, they can having their family as coping mechanism, they can having going to the as their coping mechanism. So in the whole narrative, it's going to be better in opening conversations for the problem.
Okay, so everyone, Dr. Francis here again, and you're actually giving me the awareness even when I said so, because I did not actually disturb it. So, that being said, I'll let you start on stage in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, as I already explained in the status quo, remote working policy is an unknown game of remote working before the COVID-19 pandemic, and the remote working policy itself just started, started to be more popular in the COVID-19 pandemic, because company or even workplace need a solution to solve this pandemic problem, etc. And even after the COVID-19 pandemic has already ended, many companies still implement the remote working policy due to the benefit ways such as money that the use can go on more foreign workers and etc. However, we believe that it will bring more harm than good if the worker put the remote working as the main consideration, which you are given that I like to say, which is the feature of work and why other factor and other consideration is much more better compared to the remote working policy itself. However, before the mutual argumentation, there will be 2 people for the statement that is coming from the open opposition. The first one is that the open opposition stated that the glorification of remote working policy is just because it will bring many benefits to the workers, etc. However, we believe that it is not a just glorification, since the remote working policy happens because of a situation, and when the situation happens, we suppose should not succumb, maybe to keep the status quo as that, and we should move forward and not look back anymore. And also, those remote working policy itself has formed a new form of slavery, which we all can see with the popularization of online internship that has been popular amongst the white student nowadays. It's there are many workplaces or many companies that offers this kind of work on the online internship, whether it is through LinkedIn or Instagram. Now, my second argumentation is that, even if that it will bring many harm than good, since the first one, remote working policy tend to have an unstable career prospect, which I will explain more in my recommendation, and also it will eventually bring many harm than good, such as making a new form of slavery that alleges as a state and etc. Now, my second rebuttal would be the empowerment or maybe the open opposition stated that by a worker do those remote working policy, it would make them have the time, have maybe the money, the resource more to learn the new talent. However, we believe that it is not exclusive case in the opening opposition from the house, and it can also be implemented in the government side of the house. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have to remember and acknowledge that the characteristic of those remote working policy that they usually offer less money compared to the company operate the paid place work, the invest work itself, like, because like, many companies can like say, oh, you don't work in office, so I don't need to give you more money, I don't need to give you all of rights, such as healthcare rights, and etc. And if like those, our workers have less money, it means that they don't have like, much more resources to like learn those talents. And we assume that, we would like to argue that those workers can like, still learn those new talent, can still change their passion to like, offline working if those, company operate workers offer a good life balance. And as we all can see that many educators in here by some is only working, but they can still, pursue their passion and try to become their educator because their company offers them such a privilege. But before I jump into my recommendation, are there any away? 1, 2, 3. If not, let me continue to my argumentation. So my first argumentation would be why this glorification of remote working policy can harm the future of work. So as I already explained to you before, many companies have implemented the remote working policy due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Even like after those COVID-19 pandemic has already ended, many companies still decided to use those remote working policy because they think that it can like save a lot of money and etc. That bring many benefits to the economy. However, it makes the economy try to cheat the system, as we can already see in maybe like in living on Instagram. There are many companies that offers an online job, online internship. Since like the remote working policy that we are talking about today, it's not limited like office job, a job after graduate, but also like internship. Since like can be categorized as a job because it is already been guaranteed by many policies such as like the policy by the Ministry of Focus and etc. And those like the characteristic of those remote job or internship is that it usually doesn't give like incentive, workload overload, and unguaranteed personal development. Since like they know that many college students need those kind of remote working policy, so they can like oh, I just like need this kind of internship, and many people will eventually apply to the job anyway. And the opposition side of the house might argue or might say that there are already many regulations to solve the problem, such as the workers' right, maybe workers' right policy by the ILO Council or maybe by the Ministry of Work itself. However, what we have to acknowledge and realize that is that the ILO and also maybe the Ministry of Work itself doesn't have much time or maybe force to address the situation due to the overwhelming amount of women working with those characteristics. And that is very dangerous since it will make a new form of slavery if this type of opinion is being glorified. Since like many companies will think that many people still need them, even like they already have like all this characteristics, which will eventually harm the people in developing and undeveloped countries because like people in developing and undeveloped countries usually have a level of education that makes them keep blind to their rights such as like healthcare rights, water rights, and etc. And the company would use those working policy as a justification to not give those rights. Now, coming to my second argumentation on why other alternative is much better. So there are several benefits of alternative that we want to bring. Is that the first one is about work-life balance. So the author might say that this is an exclusive case in their side. However, we would like to argue that remote working doesn't guarantee of the workers' work-life balance. It's only give a work popular. Furthermore, there are many cases such as Unilever, Nestle, Google, and other good workplaces that offer you a good life and balance. So it actually depends on the company itself. And the second one is about good career progression. So everyone wants to have a good career, right, and not stuck in a certain position. However, what we have to argue is that usually the company that the workplace that offer you a remote working policy doesn't have a good career progression, or that doesn't have clear about structure itself. And usually those type of company that have a good progression is not a remote working policy, and due to our regulation we will get those verification. Thank you.
it's a POI 1.5. I start my speech in 3.
This is what happened in society, right? First, life cost is increasing. 2, salary is not increasing. The life cost. 3, conventional job having to pay from 9 to 5. Life expectancy is going to be increasing and so on, right? All entering this debate protecting people who doesn't have resources on conventional job, such as what the notification that going to be accessed in the government safety house, right? But there is so many notification on what to choose on the main decision of your choose in the workplace, right? But we think that why when we allow the notification of the workplace access the status quo, we give them an option that we give these people less resources on this conventional job such as the someone the person that are going to try to do like an extension. We think that we give them a job, we give them like the rights of friends such as good care academic rights and stuff like that. Such there are so many opportunities of freelance and so on, etc. That is exactly why we protected these kind of people that was effective of so many life cost expectancy that going to increases and so on. This is not going to be access to government, right? Let's touch in the only government, right? The whole argument is this keep talking about questioning about how remote working is not sustainable, it's very abusive and so on. But they literally say that themselves that they're not all depends on the company, right? Like they give you like example of work-life balance and so on. So I don't think how it's going to be an exclusive problem in our side at the end of the day, right? This is very dismissive for the government safety house because we think that the people who walk into this remote working is the kind of people who cannot afford to go to classroom and so on, etc. Because those offline working also remain to a standard in society and so on. And they're going to expand right? But we think that all the adopting of remote working that opposition the government trying to keep telling you first is not exclusive, and secondly is also within your area of control in yourself, right? Because in your side, when you work overtime, for example, you will still need to keep up the manner to be a good example. But in your side, you can be like, you guys are being a bad example and so far and so on, etc. Like in your side, then you're usually going to be overtime anyway at the end of the day because it's all depends on the company exactly, right? I don't know how it's going to be a very exclusive problem in your side, right? Because the comparative is like this, right? When abuse happen in this job, right? Offline work, where you will go to very subjective to the kind of one that you don't have a proof to be confronted with your boss example. Because in our side, in our side, in the working example, everything is digitalized, so we have proof to confront the digital boss. We have the proof for everything example. In your side, when abuses happen, that abuses is going to be something like your boss are like literally forcing you to fight your social network and so on. There's need to be resources for that. You keep highlighting your reputation and so on. And we think that is exactly what is bad in your side, right? Coming to my extension, I only have one extension. Is how choosing workplace looks like in the government class, how it looks like in status quo, and what is the right deciding factor that exists in the status quo, right? First, the things that exist in the status quo is that first, you have to the notification that exists in the status quo. First, you have to choose noble words such as doctor, teacher, so on and so on, right? That is how the African country push you to work and so on, right? Firstly, this is not accessible. Secondly, it's also going to be unprecedented choices of you at the end of the day, right? So we think that is exactly what the notification that exists in their side, right? So if there is no option or trend that exists in our side, if you oppose this, then you go to the differential notification, and that is
want to achieve in this debate, right? There is an option for that, right? But moreover, that's in your side, the like standard of job, of professional job, is not going to be like going to be accessible to most people. Example, it's about how you're going to be keep demanding to be good looking. Example, it's about you how you're going to be keep demanding to be attractive, to be sociable, and so on, etc. Right? That is exactly how the standard, the glorification, and the good job that going to be accessed in the site, right? The glorification that people should opt into the kind of job that people that going to be accepted in society. Because if you didn't choose this kind of job, you're going to be a bad and so on. Right? We protect people who doesn't have this kind of resources, right? Because it's very, very unfair in them that they oppose this glorification. So they would want to push another glorification that was so unfair and unaccessible like this, right? It's about how, in example, you have to force yourself into someone. So we didn't that is exactly how when they want to say that there is a work-life balance in that side, this is not going to happen, right? Because first you're going to be verified by the press, second is you're going to fight with your job and so on, right? You're going to force yourself to be sociable, you're going to force yourself to be good looking and so on, even if you are very, very literally oppressed in the workplace and so on, you doesn't have retaliation, you doesn't have a comparison and so on, so many like I said. But why is if the remote work is very, very bad, this like company government decision scientific, we think that it's perfectly okay because the people who opt into this really have a whole capacity to know what they want and what they don't, right? So of course at the end of the day, they are already know all the substances of the job. So they are already consented to it at the end of the day, right? So because we think that the consequences is already there. So when they are trying to opt into it, we think that it's perfectly okay for them at the end of the day. They already know that it's going to be working so and so on, right? And it's perfectly okay because this is what kind of people like the threat of these people who cannot fulfill the standard of professional job and so on. So we are very proud of it.
Starting with speech in 3, 2, 1. The things that I'm going to be doing in this speech. First of all, I'm going to cover down the idea of OO, championing under glorification. Second of all, I would like to give you a brief analysis on what was missing on the opening of the of the House. And second of all, on the idea of alternative. But on to the idea of OO. What OO wants is the benefit of alternative. There is to say that at the end of the day, what they want is capabilities for people to choose. For example, for people who doesn't necessarily have the resources, for example, to move into faraway areas, to work into some companies they want to work for. But notice that OO fails to understand the concept of glorification. Glorification means two things. First, you're willing to overlook the harms of whatever thing that you're trying to glorify. Second of all, this essentially means you have no capabilities to value companies objectively, simply because the idea that at the end of the day, people are going to be pushing this narrative for you. What does it mean then? It basically means that at the end of the day, there is not going to be simply any sort of alternative for these kinds of people, simply because at the end of the day, people are always going to be forced to work from home, people are always going to be forced to work in the companies in which they're going to have to work from home. But let's mention the idea of the comparative. Notice that the comparative under our side of the house is not necessarily going to be glorified at the end of things. What we want under our side of the house is essentially toppling on the idea of glorification itself. What we're going to be doing is essentially trying to change the perspective of the dominant minority, for example, within the status quo, in order for us to basically have any sort of voices against the idea of glorification, against the work from home company. This is then going to be the prerequisite of all the benefits in which we are going to be providing alternatives towards other people. But let's engage on the idea of OG, right? What CG wants is not only a world with options, but also a world where companies will not be solely reliant on work from home to basically engage on their employees, but also other benefits that incentivizes their workers. What does it mean? It means better wages, it means more leaves, for example, it means more, it means better living quality. How is the effect going to look like? Notice that OG was missing, right? OG was only assumptive, and that at the end of the day, companies will at the end of the day be cruel, and that is why this idea of glorification should be toppled.
Notice that CG is here to give you a clear picturization of what the work actually looks like under status quo and what it is going to be looking like under the age of glorification itself. Notice that at the end of the day, this effect is not going to look like only happening on individual level. That is to say, you are constantly being bombarded by a dominant narrative through social media like Twitter, LinkedIn, or basically every main medium where you can basically find related discussions. This basically also means that there is going to be incentive for corporates to change their methods into creating a work from home environment. Two reasons why. One, they want competitive advantages over any other companies. If the dominant narrative, if the glorification persists, then at the end of the day, the most competitive and significant workforces will obviously opt into companies that are going to be working from home. What does it mean? It inherently means that at the end of the day, these kinds of companies, for example, in order for them to retain their competitive advantage, will have to resume a work from home capabilities, even if, for example, it doesn't necessarily suit their company's culture, even if it doesn't necessarily suit the companies in which they're going to be working for. What does it mean? It basically means having companies that are supposed to basically working together one by one, for example, startup companies like Facebook, where it is going to be imperative for you to receive information and basically receive feedback as soon as possible, but then at the end of the day, it is not going to be possible simply because people that are going to be working there will be working on different conditions, they're going to be working on different capabilities. Notice then that this is the missing analysis coming from OG. But second of all, the second reason why they want to basically maintain a work from home condition is second of all is that they want to maintain a good public image. What does it mean? It basically means that they want to maintain a good public image by following what the majority wants. This is going to be especially true for open for public companies with stocks, which most people are going to be working for. It inherently means that at the end of the day, two conclusions. First of all, the 100% will not be spent only on the basis of the individuals, but also second of all, there is going to be systemic incentive for companies to not only cater to the dominant narrative that is going to be persisting throughout the society. It basically means that the way it should be, you can always be assured regarding the benefit of companies and individuals, but this piece of framing will be the most important thing because this is going to be a prerequisite of understanding the benefit and harm analysis coming from our open governance of the law. This is why we are open now, because we are able to break the law that is going to be happening on opening benches.
So should we not only adjust if society demands and society comfort is something that's important both for the company and the society itself?
Yes, this is going to be something important. Exactly this is going to be the reason we are going to be talking on the glorification. Because the glorification itself means that there is not going to be any sort of productive discussion happening within yourself in the house. This is a comparative that we will have to engage in. Second of all, on how does the work from home actually look like? Notice that opening benches only engaged on the best case scenario that at the end of the day, these kinds of people are going to be working in the companies with the same culture as them. They are going to be working in companies that will basically have the same working time as them. But at the end of the day, we will try to engage with all spectrums of working from home. Notice that there is going to be people out there that will work with foreign companies. They are going to be working with foreign companies that they are going to be used to. They are going to be working with foreign companies in which they will have different operation time. We are talking about consultant groups, for example. We are talking about startup companies that are going to be located somewhere in America. It basically means that at the end of the day, there's going to be much more incentive for these companies to essentially force their workers, whoever is going to be working from home within these companies, to essentially try to adjust into the culture that has been dominant within these companies. It basically means that these consultant groups that are going to be working in America, for example, forcing their workers to stay up at 2 a.m. for example for a meeting, simply because 2 a.m. is the most convenient time for the leaders group of these companies. It inherently means two things in conclusion. First of all is that at the end of the day, there's going to be less likelihood for people to essentially try to cater for more demands, for example, and the rest of the house, simply because they're going to be working in companies that doesn't necessarily value them the same way that companies will value other human beings. Second of all, at the end of the day, they're going to be facing a different power asymmetry, simply because it is going to be literally impossible for them to keep up with the people that are going to be working on site with these companies, right? People from America, for example, that are directly going to be competing with these people that are going to be constantly working from home. But what are going to be the comparative is this? The comparative is not going to be another glorification. The comparative is going to be the alternative. The prerequisite of alternative is the capabilities to choose. But notice that we have already told you that at the end of the day, these capabilities are going to be impossible to be reached under this or the house, simply because at the end of the day, there's going to be certain kinds of glorification. But why is glorification not going to be happening on the rest of the house? We are going to try to flip the characterization of all here, that at the end of the day, they told you that people are going to be smart, they are going to be used to by the companies. But notice that the idea that people are going to be smart inherently means that if you are able to essentially top up the derivatives, there is going to be incentive for them to essentially try to discuss for a better living condition. This is why we are.
Thank you for that speech. Now, to open the case for position as well for the member of the APN.
Alright, there are now 3 of them, or resolution is possible position. Start as 8 and 3 to 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we support the glorifications of remote working. Because through these glorifications, we send message to the people, to the society, especially to those who seeker that capital and money are not everything. There is something, other things that you have to take care and pay attention to. Right? You've got to take care of your happiness, mental health, well-being, with CO will reduce that it could only be exclusively provided by the remote working, and comparatively vice versa will not be provided compared to the ones that working, right? So therefore, the view here that CO will mark our conclusions by arguing that it is okay to be like a PPE job, for example, because it can lead into a betterment of workers' well-being. That's something that we have to discuss together, as well as give those workers the opportunity to actually like pay more attention or also focus on things outside work without necessarily diminish the benefit you get from working, as well as without necessarily ignoring your tasks as a worker in certain company or certain job, right? Response. First, toward the autonomy government, right? So documents specifically spending so much time to be discussed regarding the benefits of the remote working, yet often verify the harms that the remote working could provide, right? What they want to prioritize, right? What they want to prioritize is salary, environment, and career development. Let's just analyze that. Firstly, about the career development itself. There are arguments that through this remote working itself, it could diminish the opportunities. We said no, because remote working is, they said that remote working is going to diminish the opportunities. We said no. Panels, this one is symmetrical, because on the other side, workers are stick to their job. They're stick to their certain position that they get in the companies, for example, from 9 to 5 a.m. for 5 p.m. for example, without getting a chance to like experiencing and explore other activities, other jobs. Since they tired of the on-site working, for example, yet they have to take care of their family in the house, their sons, their kids, for example, or any other family members they have to take care too. Not to mention the idea of also working like in which already much more under their family house. Why? Because at the very place when your boss asks you to do something for work outside of your working hour, for example, you're like having the essence of having the kind of fear to accept this kind of overwork, because you're just like don't want to refuse that kind of offer and also tax from your boss in an offline life. Meaning that under that production will be comparatively much more than already regulated on environment. Comparatively on the other side, you have the room and also you have the time to explore more activities, for example, or a job in itself, a freelance job that would be great for your CV in better for career development. Secondly, about the environment. They said that the environment is something that is necessary and something that is better. Hence, you have to opt in first. Panels under also the house, you don't have to opt in first to experience the culture and environment itself, because there's an idea about how the negative environment, also the bad culture that could exist in the on-site working places. Meaning that we don't actually opt in first and also experiences this kind of culture in the on-site working place, means that you are actually diminish all the harms and all of the negative culture and negative things that could happen in the on-site working life. Let's move on to the closing government. Then my point is that the glorification is bad because people are not going to be reactive, they're going to be picky towards a certain job and something like that. We're going to answer that through my arguments, right? So what this closing opposition will argue is given? It's about how then it's okay to be picky, because by picky you can like adjust to your condition, to your social condition, and it's okay to actually like balancing your work and life. Why is it okay to be picky? Because first, we live in a status quo that people live with their family, for instance. They're just not living with themselves, but they live with their family, for instance. For example, like we can see about a single mom, for example, they have to work for 8 or 9 hours for the minimum,
and before and after work they have to like take care of their kids or something like that. Those single mom have to take care of their child and have to facing all the challenges of being a single mom. Yet they have to facing all the challenges that provided by the ones working out. For example, or any other example for like people who live with the family. Similar to the single parent, this worker has to take care of the family member that are unable to left alone, for example, due to the sickness or something like that. Meaning that due to the also working staff that diminishes people to actually like take care of their family member, also the well-beingness of, or for example, the people who live alone. In the globalized workplace working staff, public start to raise public or society itself, they start to raise awareness about mental health and happiness and something like that. So we think that it's something to be picky because this in the globalized and fast-paced world itself, people start to think about the well-beingness and also this, the mental health and also the happiness itself. And due to this glorification itself, people start to think about, oh, okay, then the salary, the capital is not the main thing you have to pursue because at the end of the day, even though you have a lot of salary, but you don't have time, you don't have that kind of happiness, this kind of thing would be useless. But yeah, before.
If the demand for working from home is going to be that big, prove to us then that there's under hours of the house there's not going to be any sort of alternative process.
Why is there's no other alternative itself? Because people are just stick to the job they have. They have to work from 9 to 5 to, for 5 p.m. for the meal, for instance. Means that those kind of alternatives to actually like experiencing and also exploring any other freelance or also any other like any other opportunities itself would not going to happen under those of the house. But secondly, when we're talking about how then remote working itself will give you more opportunity and sector development, let me say just watch for the closing opposition itself because through this remote working itself, it gives you more opportunity and access for development itself. This is a response also to the government of the house regarding the business opportunity itself. When we're talking about how that through this online working itself, it will diminish the opportunities. People, panels, let's see how the internal companies, for instance, they provide a lot of chances and jobs that could be applied for people who came from different geographical areas. Meaning that this kind of remote working area, it is something that minimizes the geographical gap that actually become hinders them to actually like having more alternatives to like having more happiness and also paying attention toward the well-beingness and itself. Like this is something that cannot be happen under the several laws. So what's then the differences between the closing opposition and opening opposition? The closing opposition will give you more representations about how then the people's condition or also the workers' condition itself is like completely different between one to another. We cannot just study debate by generalizing about that people's and workers' conditions and necessity is everything is the same. No, we provide you a characterization also the analysis about how then through this remote working itself, it will be more inclusive and it would cater people's differences between need and also necessity and also the conditions that they need. Meaning that through this remote working itself, we think the glorification is okay because it's sending message to the people that capital and money is not everything. You can also pursue any other opportunities, job, etc. And also that you can maintain, also you can preserve your well-beingness and also happiness. That is something that is in the software is very important yet for the closing opposition.
Traditional offline working and the individuals as overall, because now due to this glorification, offline working will be seen as less, even though it will actually bring people much better incentives, like to grow and to develop together that you don't actually have when you work alone in your room and do whatever you want just because you feel like, okay, I'm finishing my job, that's it. No room for work, so better develop in the offline working, in the traditional place that we have right now. They will provide you better wages, they will give you better career path, better connection, because you keep on meeting people as much as you hate it. If you want to talk about profit, if you want to talk about making money, that's what you need, and that's what ultimately will go. Okay, a couple comparisons towards opening a position. Firstly, we are logically prior to opening a position because rationality that they talked about is obviously diminished due to the glorification. You know this. The glorification is when you frame things or certain narratives to be objectively true, and you push a whole society to go towards that narrative, and now you're forgetting all those basics that you've learned about. Which one, thank you, because now you want to just go on with whatever narratives that are mainly dominating this people who are working, because you feel like you see people, it's so good, they're working from back, they're working from their home, they can do anything that they want. I want to be like them. I saw them on Instagram stories, I saw them on Instagram posts that they're working from cafes, great, but they never know actually what's actually happening behind that, and all of the harm that will come with it. None of the opposition team has actually came in and proved to us how it's not harmful. We say that it's right to frame this to be accessible, but exactly that accessibility is not enough with all the trade-offs that came in within offline working.
The glorifications, like how the is glorified as something that's noble, or picture as something is also noble, still exists under our subjects also. So to outline this.
Yes, if you want to talk about doctors and teachers, good for you. But what about the so many jobs that exist right now that has so many alternatives, either offline working or online working? Let people choose whatever best for them. We have no agency to push the society to do that. Nothing of that matters. I'll talk about that later as well. Okay, we want to talk about firstly effectivity. This is not exclusive because people working on place is effective as well, because you see them working, they fulfill their jobs, and then you directly presented it either to your boss, to your other workers, they're both effective. Secondly, the motivation and the internal values, they're missing that. We said glorification manipulates your rationality. You cannot deny that being in person at work push you to work your best, because now you need this streamline. So from the first video I told you about, like working in Facebook, let's say you have to be in startups, being white here, like being in startups, you have to be very interacting with people, like giving much ideas quickly. There's a short time frame within so many jobs that wouldn't be achieved with online working. Thirdly, you don't have to mobilize, that's what they glorified about. But then due to all of those flexibility of time, now you are time taking side gigs. And now what? You will left with so many jobs, ineffectivity, and then you get tired, it overwhelms you in the end, and then later less effectivity. If they want to talk about abuses, then let's solve it. Abuses in like working places, then let's solve it. There's no correlation on why these people are eating up this glorification, then the abuse will stop. We see no point on talking about that. Okay, do you notice that they say people work remotely because people can't afford to go to these jobs, they cannot afford to go to these workplaces. It is very assumptive in their side because some people they don't actually have those laptops, they might not have enough information and working with very basic like Excel or so. Not everyone has that privilege, and so we say that is never inclusive under their house. But in the heart of people will they say that people have capabilities to work from home because the demand of this these companies that let you work remotely, with as much demand that they have, then eventually they will still push you to work as much as offline working. Now, there's no alternative for them to get help from people, to get better comments from your coworkers, to get help from people around you. No, thank you. And because they will always try to cater towards so many demands as well as in offline working, thus you still overwork during all of this. Okay, now even jobs, because other than doctors and teachers like that you want to talk about, it all again still better without this glorification. If you want to talk about consultants job where you have very small limited time and you have to chase clients, you have to meet them, even in online working and such, because now you have to let's say arrange meetings later because you cannot meet them directly, you're not in an actual working place. And then if you talk about startups, which is growing very much right now, you always need quicker interaction, like I said earlier. There are straightforward responses in order to develop as effective as possible. So, okay, we go on.
Although is very conditioned to the autism of people like so how is it like?
Okay, some people can be generous enough, some people can be enough, but again, there are house you can meet people that are actually you don't have people around you to work the support to like help you grow and work together. You are having less incentives, you can be get lazy and such, and then it goes, and it's incentive that you can fall into the lack of your work, you can get as far as like being depressed and all sorts of that, all very possible. The negative culture, in offline working is not always exclusive as well, because with personality, with glorification, you can choose the best without all of the harm that exists within that online working. If single moms wants to work remotely, let them be, because this benefits them. But what about the general working people that almost everyone's working, and now we're taking that agency, we say that no, this glorification, we don't want that. No matter how much added benefits that any companies will offer, to make sure that people still will work, traditionally, and let's say if this is what the glorification of money, say it's all assumptive, and this glorification is not only harming the industry, but it's actually workers. We are posing a shift of narrative that will not only impact the agency of people to choose the best working methods and workers in the system. Very proud to report.
Ladies and gentlemen, analysts, what has happened throughout this debate? We believe that the government benches, open government, the issues that come with the government bench, open government focused on the short-term issues, while closing government came into a new perspective, bringing long-term issues. CO will try to engage both these cases, and we will accept from our open opposition by giving you further characterizations on people who actually want to join the workforce and work the workforce itself, and therefore why the verification will be beneficial when you think about the remote working as the main factor. Now, let's discuss what will be brought into today's debate. So starting off with their setup, talking about they prefer people prioritizing salary, work culture, and etc. Then they focus on that companies not pay for overtime and etc. We believe that this is a symmetrical harm, but we believe why does opposition win this deadlock is because we believe that in our side of the house, it's actually easier to get away from the overtime because you don't have to be out in an offline setting, straightly confronting your boss. And next one coming from OG, talked about how this is wasting opportunity, especially for fresh graduates. It's going to be harder for them to find jobs because in their mind, they're going to think whether they're going to find the remote, whether or not this job is remote working or not, and not think about whether this job has a high paying salary. We believe that is why there's already actually many companies that actually do provide online jobs, and especially if we look through with a bigger perspective that many international companies actually offer online working, especially since open government came with a setup to also include internships in their setup, right? We believe that it's actually been very beneficial for people to include international companies because they get paid higher, they get paid in dollars, and especially because this type of workplace where international companies offer online workplace, we also include workplace or international companies that, for example, receive art submission in which you can sell your art online, and so we believe that these type of issue gives very much flexibility. So like when someone say an artist choose whether he or she have to work in a gallery, and also whether they can actually sell their art online, it's actually very beneficial to think about they're going to sell their art and paid in dollars, right? So we look that there's many further characterization of the workplace that needs to be discussed, especially workplace in the creative industry, education, like teaching online. There's very many benefits, and correlated to what Fiji argued to debate that logically this trend will push availability of online jobs. They will try to push you as this is very big harm. We'll flip that and we'll say to you why this is actually very beneficial. Moving on from the case that also brought up OG, we believe because of the fact that their setup, they kept mentioning about their setup includes very beneficial. Why? Because people can actually seek multiple internships. College students who are still in college can seek an internship online, can seek online internships. And why is this very beneficial? Well, because besides from building up their experience, most importantly, this is building up their CV. So by, for them having multiple experience, multiple internships, it'll actually build up their CV, and this will make them easier to get a job because now they have many experience that can push them to get better online jobs that have better salary, right? And when OJ talked about work-life depends on the company, we believe that this is also a symmetrical harm. But how do we win this deadlock? We believe that in our side of the house, at least it's easier for you to opt out of the company when it's toxic. In their side of the house, those employees are strangled by a contract that they need to fulfill, and they resign, it will have a bad impact on them. We believe that in our side of the house, if the company is toxic, it's easier for you to opt out of that. So this is how we win this deadlock. Moving on to the case that has been brought by opposing government, well, when they talk about how this trend is very harmful further on the road. So, they talked about how companies will opt into online working, and this is bad because there's going to be no interaction. They give the example of a startup. We believe that this is technically relative, and because we believe that there's actually not all jobs rely on social interaction. We believe that the sole purpose of jobs, like as long as you get your work done, there's no necessity on relying on offline interaction. As long as the work is being done, it's fine. Especially since you can interact online, because during the COVID era, everyone who's an employee was interacting through Zoom or Discord, so the interaction can still exist. So we know that this is not necessary. This is something that is very relevant and not as a main case. And so they also give an example of international companies, different time zones. It's hard. We believe that it's fine. One, because it makes better money, and at least, even if they don't get better money, yet again, they will have a better CV because they can write that they have worked in an international company, so this can help their future better. So, what differentiates CO from OO? We believe that OO focus too much on like when they characterize the stakeholders, talking about that, oh, people get lonely and etc. The mechanism that they give you is that it's fine because those people actually consented. We believe that we want to take it a step further. We believe that it's fine for people to be taking jobs because of the benefits even in that job, specifically relating to self-preservement and well-being, mental health issues, and happiness. So I'll talk about what CO wants in today's debate. We believe that remote working has many benefits, therefore the benefits that it offers should be the very first thing that you consider when you want to find a job. And so we're going to justify people being picky. Even if an online job pays a lot, we're going to justify why opting into an online job that pays less will still be better for you. Let's characterize the stakeholders in today's debate. We believe that not everyone lives for themselves. When CG tried to tackle that, we believe that we're not necessarily specifying on single moms and single parents. We believe that many people live and they still have to take care of their family members, their kids, or their parents, or grandparents, etc. So they need to physically take care of them. Because in this person's mind, when they want to opt into a job, they need to think about the other things besides making money, and which is what OG would want to promote, right? They need to think about how to take care of their family. So remote working should logically be the first thing that comes to mind. Because if remote working is not the first thing, it's going to take longer for these people to actually find a job position that is adequate to their specific situation. They need to find a job, an offline position that specifically allows them to drive their kids at 8 a.m., pick their kids up, give back to their grandparents. So like it's going to be much